Metal fans, welcome to the Metal Forever Music Defenders of Metal podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to defending the true metal faith, interactive show segments, interviews, tours, and metal music discussions. Now let's get on with the show.
Well, Richie, I appreciate you joining. Welcome to the Metal Forever Music Defenders of Metal podcast. Appreciate you taking some time to talk a little bit about your new project, Elegant Weapons. Well, it's not so new. It's I know you have a new album coming out this April, and you just dropped your first single. So what can you tell us about the new album? And I know you have a little bit of a new lineup as well. So just why don't you tell us how that's going and what we're looking forward to?
Well, yeah. Well, thanks for having me. First of all, man, it's good to be here. So the record's called Evolution, and we felt like the band has evolved. We've got a new line. Well, I say new lineup. We've had a new lineup since 2023. Christopher Williams from Accept, Davey Rimmer from Uriah Heep on bass and drums. So the band's evolved. We feel like the songs have evolved a little bit. There's a few different sides to the band on this record, we feel, in comparison to the last one. And the way we recorded the album as well was a bit different. We were a bit more together on this one. We recorded the drums together, and we recorded the vocals. Although we were in different parts of the world, in different studios, we all done it on a Zoom call like this, so we could work together without flying each other all over the world. So it was an evolution on a few fronts, really. So the first single really is kind of like an introduction to new, people that haven't heard the band before. And if anyone has heard the band before, hopefully it's a nice reintroduction to the new guys in the band and the new album. So we're looking forward to getting the album out there and releasing it onto the world. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been extremely well received so far, and I know I've been jamming it a little bit. And you also, I know you work with Andy Sneap on this one. Obviously, you two work together on all the, a lot of the Judas Priest material. I know a natural question I think that metal fans might have is when you go into the creative sessions for Elegant Weapons and you have these riff ideas and what have you. How do you approach the creative writing style versus kind of maybe what makes its way over to the Judas Priest camp? Well, fortunately, when I put Elegant Weapons together, I wanted something that had a sound that was different to Priest, So it stood on its own. If it sounded like Priest, there wouldn't be any point really, So fortunately, it has its own sound. So if I'm writing, I'm sitting down, I've had a coffee, I've got the guitar, I'm running some riffs. If one jumps out, it's usually pretty obvious which one goes where. If you think of the Sentinel or Electric Eye, and it sounds like classic kind of metal, it usually goes in the Priest file. If it's a bit more bluesy, a bit more sort of groovy, Sabbathy, Hendrixy type vibes, usually goes in the Weapons file. But there can be some crossover as well in the middle. So you never quite know, ballads and stuff like that, they can sit in the middle. But usually it's a clear distinction between Priest and Weapons. Priest has had a characteristic that we all know and love for more than 50 years. So that's pretty straightforward. And then Weapons, fortunately, has got its own sound as well. So I usually know which pile to put them in.
Yeah, no, that's interesting and great perspective. I know back in 2022, you and I were talking because you were just kind of come off your heart incident, that I know you've talked a lot about. I unfortunately also had a heart issue right around that same time. But I believe you've released the track listing, and there's one track called Rupture. And I think you've said in other interviews that I've seen that, it's kind of a personal metal journey, musical journey. That's an instrumental. Is that accurate, that song? And is that the inspiration from that experience that you had?
It was, yeah. It's kind of half inspiration, and then half kind of the song dictates what it's going to be about. So I had the guitar part, and I could hear like a heartbeat through it. I could hear like a rhythm going through the guitar riff, and so I drew inspiration from my own experience, and I had a kind of movie in my head. Sometimes music gives you a movie in your head. You could see stuff happening to the music, and I could see someone in a hospital bed connected with wires and tubes to monitors and stuff, with that heartbeat going through it, and I could hear kind of turmoil in the music, but also hope. So I drew from my own experience, and kind of was inspired by that guitar riff. But at the end, it flatlines. I don't know if you've heard it, but in the song, the heartbeat stops and it flatlines. So luckily, I didn't flatline. I'm talking to you today, fortunately. But I thought it would be a bit more dramatic for the album, to have the character flatline. But then the next song kind of kicks in after that flatline and makes like a dramatic sort of entrance. So I thought it was a cool thing to have on an album. And so, yeah, the way I sort of drew reference from my own experience, to create that kind of vibe, really. But it was the song that kind of dictated that. I mean, what I got from the song was that heartbeat, and then drew reference from that.
Yeah. Now that is an instrumental, though, correct? That track, correct?
It is, yeah, it is. That I couldn't think of any words to go with it.
Yeah, maybe. It sounds like it probably speaks for itself. I haven't heard it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And so, have you written other instrumentals before for other? Whether it's Elegant Weapons or other projects that you've had, or is this kind of one of the first forays into that?
Yeah, there was a couple for the first record, actually. There was an intro to the record that I never used, and there was another instrumental that we never used. They're kicking around somewhere. I don't know where they are, but these things have a tendency to kind of pop up, weeks or months or years later, when you're looking for a riff or a part of a song. Sometimes it's, what about that part or that track, So we didn't use them for the first record, but they're around somewhere. But usually, I mean, someone said to me, why would you have an instrumental on a record that you've got Ronnie Romero singing, which is quite a good point, really. He's such a good singer. But it just seemed appropriate on this record, and it seemed to just have a different dynamic on the record, so I went with it.
Yeah, well, obviously you being a guitar player, shredder, and virtuoso, and other guitar players have done those instrumental tracks, and they do speak for themselves, right, in many ways, and you can catch the melodies and the harmonies sometimes, and so I think that's something that a lot of metal fans will be looking forward to when the full album drops, So another question I was going to ask you, and I know that this is, it used to be, I guess, longer time ago, that people in bands, when they kind of go off, whether they do a solo work or they form another project. And I know you have said that this is not really a side project. This is Elegant Weapons, is a whole other band in and of itself. But I know days and times have changed, right? Where musicians and artists are out in different journeys and exploring different music. I guess, how's this been received by the Judas Priest camp, and is there support for this? And obviously, I'm sure you've dealt with this in the past, but how's that been embraced, and what have they how's that whole thing been kind of working out, I guess, relationship wise?
Oh, they're all for it. I think when I joined the band, as we all know, it was the farewell tour. And I remember
15 years ago, right? Yeah.
15 years, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, when I joined the band, I remember Glenn Tipton saying to me, he wishes he could say, we're going to be around for another 30, 20 years, whatever. But that wasn't the case. We knew where Priest was when I joined in terms of their career. So I kind of had to think about what I was going to do after Priest. And it just so happened that they're still around 15 years later, putting out new music and still touring. But at the time, I didn't really know that. So I've always had to think about what I'm going to be doing afterwards. And when COVID hit, it was kind of a time to see what other stuff I had. I had some downtime, put some songs together, and go from there, really. So, but in answer to your question, they're all for it, as long as it doesn't conflict with schedules, which obviously it won't. We've got to find, Priests are out in the summer. So we're putting this stuff out now. When Priests get back from tour, we're looking for dates with Weapons after that. So we've just got to, be careful with windows of opportunity, and that's all it is, really. But they're all for it. They understand me coming in, and I'm gonna, hopefully won't retire when they retire. So I'm building the seed, sowing the seeds now for what hopefully will carry on later on when they do retire.
For sure. I think it's great. I think it's great that bands have embraced other projects and musicians being creative and going down different paths. Because careers don't ultimately last forever, and as long as you don't conflict and you know where the priorities are. And so I guess there is plans then, obviously, to tour behind this or play festivals, right, with Elegant Weapons. And how is that kind of looking for you? I guess you're looking into 2027 as well at this point.
We're looking later on in the year, really. We would like to tour it. You know, obviously we live to play live. I think any band, 99% of bands love to play live. So we're no different. It's always schedules. We've all got other bands. So Davey's in Uriah Heep are touring. Christopher's and Accept are also touring. Ronnie's got his own band and he's in other things as well, which are touring. So it's always the challenge is finding a time on everyone's calendar when no one's got anything on. So that's the challenge, but it's a good challenge, really. We've all got other stuff going on, and it's a blessing, really, that we're all so busy. But so maybe later on in the year, early next year, maybe we're looking maybe in Europe or the States or Japan, wherever will have us, we'll come and play for you. But once those dates are confirmed, we'll let you all know, obviously.
Well, that's great. That's great. And I know you signed with Exciter Records. I think they've got a little Priest in their catalog now too, and I believe they're also in Nashville, right, where you're based out of. So, can you speak a little bit about this label and kind of what it means for the band and kind of how you guys are working together at this point?
Well, yeah, as you said, they saw it as an extension of the Priest family. Really, they've got the two first records that Priest put out, Rock'n'Roller and Sad Wings of Destiny, which they got from Gold Records, and they set the label up to take on those records. And we saw the Elegant Weapons signing as an extension of the Priest family, so it's all in the same family. And at the moment, we're the only band on there, in addition to the first two records of Priest. So it's very direct. I'll you work for the label, I'll call you up, we've got an idea, let's do this. The creative, there's no middleman, you know what I mean? I don't have to go through anyone to get to the label, and they don't have to go through anyone to get to me. So if we've got ideas, we want to release something, or if we want to do another release later in the year, put out some bonus stuff, do another tour, do some promotion for something, we can talk, you know what I mean? Like we're talking now, and that's a really valuable thing for me, without having to go through anyone else. So that was an attractive thing. It's exciting, to, no pun intended, but it's an exciting prospect to be able to do that with the label, not chasing them all the time.
Sure. Just a couple more, because I definitely want to be respectful of your time. And once again, Richie, appreciate you coming in and, talking about this new album and the continuation. And like you said, the evolution of this band. But when it comes to your gear, and I've seen some of your stuff where you're kind of going through the Priest rig and the effects pedals, everything, the good old fish and chips, which I think is cool.
Yes.
I think that's awesome. I'm like, how did you change some of the gear up or to get a different sound, or is it kind of still all the same stuff that you're kind of using, just different style of, of riffs and music? How does that work?
Do you mean with the weapon stuff?
Yeah, yeah. To give it a little different sound?
It's fundamentally the same stuff. I use the same stuff. In the studio, we might use different amplifiers for different things, or combinations of different amplifiers or effects for different things in the studio. The guitars are always the same. Again, you might use different things for different layers and different sounds and stuff like that you wouldn't use live. In the studio, you've got a little bit more license for creativity, that you can't play 50 guitars live, you know what I mean, to put all those sounds down. But fundamentally it's the same stuff. It's usually like a humbucking guitar, like a Gibson guitar, through a Marshall type amplifier or Wizard type amplifier, some delay, and then other stuff to taste. Is fundamentally the same stuff, as it is with Priest or Weapons on stage or in the studio. Pretty much, essentially, at the core of it, it's the same stuff. It's the guitar into the amplifier with a couple of pedals, and that's pretty much what it's been for me for the last 15, 20 years,
Yeah, absolutely. Just real quick on the track list, there's some really cool names here. I guess you can call them definitely in the metal vein: Evil Eyes, Holy Roller, Keeper of the Keys. What are some of the kind of ones that pop out for you that you're excited for fans to hear when the full album comes out in April?
Keeper of the Keys is one of them. It's the last track on the record, and it's not a ballad, but it's kind of like a mid-paced rainbow Deep Purple type thing. Fantastic performance by Ronnie, really carries the song well, and it's got Adam Wakeman on keyboards on there as well. Adam Wakeman plays keyboards on that one and Come Back to Me, which is the ballad. Generation Me is one of my favorites on the record. It's a short song, but it's a kind of it's like a head nodder, you know what I mean? It's like a groover. Yeah, I'd say those two. I'm interested for fans to hear, and they're two of my favorite tracks on the record.
That's great. That's great, Richie. We're all, yeah. I know there's buzz out there already in the music and rock metal community. So it's exciting when the full album's going to drop. I guess I was going to ask you, just when you do a lot of this press for this band, and what are some of the questions that are things that maybe you want fans to know that maybe doesn't get asked about all the time, that you kind of wish it got asked or should get asked more?
To be honest, I think people were pretty, I'm surprised people ask the questions that they're pretty astute, They ask, why is it called that? Why do we choose that title? They ask about the musicians that performed on it. They ask about the new guys in the band. They ask about how we recorded it. And it all great questions, That's what I'd want to know from my favourite bands when they release a new album. What's different about this one? What's similar about this one? Because when you have a favourite band, you want it to be the same kind of band, but not the same. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? If it's too different, But so everyone asks great questions, and I'm just kind of grateful, really, that everyone's interested about asking questions and finding out about the new record. Hopefully they dig it when it comes out.
Yeah. And then I guess just one last one, and this one's probably going to be a little slanted because of your time in Judas Priest and obviously now with Elegant Weapons. But there's two sides of camp out there. Some that say, well, there's no way certain bands can continue on. Like, for example, Rush just dropped their live show, I guess a day or two ago, with the new drummer. And half people are like, oh, that can never be Rush, right? We don't have the original lineup. And then there's other people that say, this is where I come from. Like, man, it's cool that these bands continue on, with new players. And as long as like the vein of the music, like where do I know it's probably a charged question, but like, where do you net out with this as it relates to just these different bands that are out there and not always the original players, but it's a chance to keep going live and recording the music and keep the music out there for the fans. What do you think?
I think as long as the guys want to do it, they should do it. If people don't want to go, they don't go. And people kind of vote with their ticket, don't they? If Rush got up there and you've got 20,000 people in an auditorium, and the guys want to do it, do it. But if Rush turned up and there was 5 people there, they've got an issue. Maybe people don't want to see it. But if I can name other bands as well. If the guys want to do it and people are showing up in their thousands to see it, then why not do it? If people don't want to go, then don't. Simple as that. That's what I'd say.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great answer, and I'm on the same page with you. And I just want to say thank you from the fan side of this. Like you've kept Judas Priest going for 15 more years. You've got 4 or 5 new incredible albums and so many tours that are behind it, and now with Elegant Weapons, like you said, it's a different style of music, but in the same vein, and just more outlet for this music to continue forward. So hats off to you, man. That's great, and I'm obviously glad. It sounds like your health's going pretty well, and I know that's been a challenge, and it is a challenge when you go through those things. But just credit to you, Richie, and thanks for everything you're doing for the industry and for the bands and for putting this music out.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man. It's people like you guys, that fly the flag for us as well. We couldn't do it without you guys, and we couldn't do it without the fans and the people that come. Even with us, it's only 5 people, but we love it. You know what I mean? So we couldn't do it without you guys and spreading the word and getting the names out there. So when people do come down, or when people do switch on the radio, or they put the TV on, they know a little bit about it, and they come down and they support live music. So we couldn't do it without you guys either. So thank you as well.
Yes, we call this one the Defenders of Metal, so we're trying to keep defending as well. And again, I really appreciate your time, Richie, and good luck with this new release coming out. Like I said, I know a lot of fans are super excited. Where can people find you, just on the social channels and the website, and be able to download the music? I know there's some like vinyl and CDs coming out as well. So where can everybody find it when it comes out?
Yeah, we're pretty easy to find. Elegant Weapons or Elegant Weapons Band. We're on Instagram, TikTok. I think I don't do the TikTok thing, but there's someone that does. I don't really get it, but the Instagram thing. I think we're on Facebook. We're on all the usual outlets, But the record's coming out on April 24th on all regular outlets and stuff like that. But we're not hard to find, so just do a search for us and you'll find us.
Great. Well, I've already got it pre-saved on my Spotify, Richie. Thanks again for joining. Super.
Thank you, bro.
Best of luck with this new album coming out, and hope I get the chance to see you again. And maybe we're not talking about our heart situation. We're just talking about music and having fun. So,
absolutely, brother. Well, thanks again, man. Thanks for having me.
And all the best health to you, Richie. Thank you.
You too, man. Take care now.
Cheers, man. Thank you.